Hello, everyone. Welcome to Black Talk Show. I have with me Coach Janine, and I have Dr. Eva.
Ewa Kleczyk.
Yeah. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Okay, let me introduce Dr. Eva. She is. I'm gonna give her headline. It's a distinguished leader in healthcare, analytics, and technology, and mentor for women in leadership, and a recipient of the President's Lifetime Achievement Awards. So, Dr. Eva, can you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Yes. First of all, thank you so much for having me here, Tina, and so glad to be back and having the discussion with you and Janine. As you mentioned, I'm a leader in healthcare analytics. I've been in the field for about 20 years, and I have the opportunity to really impact healthcare directly via leveraging data and analyzing the data to provide better access to care as well as treatment. This has been very important to me thinking about it. What do we do with healthcare and how we make it more accessible, but more importantly, how can we advance healthcare analytics via including more and more women into STEM areas. STEM areas, as we know, are mainly men-oriented. There's many more men than women, and I think joining those two areas where women tend to give the care and combining that with analytics and the great experience really provides a platform for enhancing our overall healthcare industry, providing the right care to patients, and improving the way we are accessing healthcare in general. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, Dr. I could call you Dr. Janine. Coach Janine, can you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Eva, for this background, because to me, I'm very excited to really, just listening from your background. My first question to you is that how did you navigate, to be able to stay, mentally prepared, because so many challenges, especially when we had to go through the pandemic. How did you navigate to be able to keep up your spirit, to keep up your team, just to be able to stay strong mentally? How did you prepare yourself for that in these 20 years?
Yes, great. This is a great question. I was thinking through about my journey. First of all, it's really understanding for me that I have an impact. I can make an impact for others, getting the right treatment, understanding where to get the access to care, and for us to really enhance the innovation when it comes to many different diseases. If we think about it, when I started, the therapeutic areas that we really were discussing were more cardiovascular, diabetes, and so forth. We are still discussing those, and there's still more and more improvements. But we are now talking about precision medicine. We are talking about the rare diseases and how can we really evolve it. And even thinking about pandemic, we had vaccine tested and available to all of us in the shortest time frame ever. So we can see the way the industry is changing, the motivation of many leaders coming in and community leaders as well, because there is not only the leaders within the healthcare industry, but also at the local level. And how do we disperse? How do we talk about it? How do we provide access and ultimately impact the overall health of each community at their own level, but also at the national level? From the point of view of thinking about how pandemic impacted our working relationships, I think we do need to think about what it means. Not being able to be always face-to-face and being like we are right now on Zoom can create its challenges. You are losing a little bit of that personal touch. So how do you bring this in? Very often thinking about social activities after work to get done, meaning doing social hours or doing happy hours or doing some other games, doing as much communication with your teams as you can, and being online and being on camera really helps it, but also creating more empathy for especially what women went during the pandemic. They were not only working full-time, many of us, we know, we worked not only 40 hours, but probably 60 hours because the needs were for it. But on top of that, they were taking care of their elderly parents. They were taking care of their spouses. They were taking care of their kids, being the teachers, being the professionals, being the caregivers. And I think that was, for me, was important to realize the heaviness and heavy load that we were all carrying at the same time. So being empathetic, talking about it, and knowing that everyone might have a bad day, I think it really helped and guide us through this whole pandemic and come out on the other side. Tina, you're on mute. Tina, you are on mute. I can't hear.
Okay, you can't hear me. I was on mute, huh?
That's
Okay, let me get back to. My questions went away when I did that, huh?
That's okay. And as always with technology, we lost the
Yes.
mean at the same time.
Okay, mentorship can be a two-way street. What has your personal gain from your experience as a mentor, and how has it impacted your own growth and leadership style?
Excellent question. I think this is mentorship goes ways, both ways. It goes us providing those of us who have the privilege and opportunity to mentor others and are being asked to mentor others, are providing our experience and advising and really sharing what we have gone through and how someone else can benefit from those lessons. But it's also for us learning from our mentees. Our mentees, each of them have a different pathway. Some individuals have a more privileged life, others might not. Some might have had opportunities to be in a professional world. Others might have never been. This is their first time talking to a professional. And I think we are learning from them, understanding what the journey is, adapt and pivot to make sure that our advice, that our experiences can be relatable. Because part of being a mentor is making sure that whatever message we are sharing is not only inspirational overall, but it's also relevant and relatable to the person that we are discussing. And I think understanding those issues, understanding where they came from and hearing their story and trying to make it relatable to them, it makes it that much easier for someone else to actually take your thoughts, take your advice and think through how that applies to your life. So that's one. The second thing is really a humbling experience. If you think about it, when you are being selected as a mentor, someone believes, someone looks up to you. So it's a humbling experience, but at the same time carries a lot of weight. Now you are presenting yourself, someone is putting you on a pedestal. And I think learning that we are being watched, that someone is looking at you, someone is looking at how you are behaving, and ultimately they are incorporating those lessons. It's not only in a formal mentorship or mentoring session where they are getting the lessons, but they also observe you from the sideline. How do you respond in negative areas? How do you respond to others when they are challenging you? How do you motivate yourself? How do you advance yourself? So they are watching you and they are seeing. And I think that part, very often some mentors don't think about it, that it's not only in the session, how we are responding, but also is outside of the official mentor relationship or those sessions that we are having, that others are observing you. And ultimately, you are becoming a mentor to others when you even do not know that you are one. Someone is watching you and ultimately makes a decision on what it is. So I would say it's in general, it's a very humbling experience. And anyone who ever asks me to be officially their mentor, I take it with a very seriously, because I know that means that someone looks up to me. But it's also realizing to me that I am now someone's picture of what they would like to be. So I also have to hold myself to the highest standards to make sure that I presented what does it mean to be a good mentor, good leader, and how I can help someone in their journey, whatever that might be, and whatever goal they are establishing to get to at the end. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Coach Janine, you have a question?
Yes. So Dr. Ewa, as a mentor, to me, I really see that you're empowering that as well. So it's just not mentorship, but also you're empowering them. So how do you balance? How do you bring balance, in a healthcare? Like, how do you create time for yourself and also time to be able to balance both your personal life and your professional life?
Yes, great question. And I think we all know balance. We all can talk about work and life balance. Sometimes doesn't exist. Sometimes we have to fight for it, and we have to make time for it. There is nothing without the time. I think it's like with your career, where you are, where you know what you want to be doing and you're committed. You have to be committed to your family and to self-care. Am I the best at it? No, but am I growing? And I realize that every year I need something different. I never thought in my 20s that I would require more spiritual aspects or more wellness for myself, because you are at a different part of your life. I think the older you become, you realize that the peace and quiet, being somewhere in a rural, staying at the beach, at the lake, going to a spa, or going even to a mental health counselor when it's needed, it's really important to your overall well-being. First of all, the older you become, the wiser you become from the point of view that the journey is very long, right? So this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. So you have to take care of yourself and really think about it. What do I need right now? We are going to have challenges health-wise. We are going to have family challenges. We are going to have career challenges, but it's really how you focus on it and how you learn from it. If I look at how I was when I was in my 20s versus when I'm now in a more mature age, it's really realizing that taking all of the experiences, acknowledging them, thinking through them, and taking the lessons from it, and not really bagging down on it. Because I think many young people want to, they're very driven, they want success immediately, but it's all about all of the experiences in general and just digesting them to the way that improves and steers your pathway forward. When it comes to taking time off, I like to schedule them. I like to have smaller trips, and I put them on a calendar, and I make sure that my husband and I, or my family and I, go and do whatever we need to do. And I think that has worked for me, knowing my very busy schedule, but it also gives others the opportunity to plan. When you are in a business setting, you have to be able to plan, right? So then you are doing that, you are committed to yourself, you're asking others to help you when you are not there. And ultimately, both aspects are taken care of. So then when you are going to take care of yourself on your vacation, on your time, family time, you can totally relax, you can totally feel and enjoy the moment and be at them in the present moment where others expect you to be. And I think that's very important as well, realizing that it's a commitment. As everything else in life, you have to commit, and you have to understand what is your commitment and stay with it, and continuously move it the same way as we are moving with our careers. What do I need today? What will I need tomorrow? And set those goals for ourselves as well.
Okay. Okay, Dr. Ewa, what advice do you often find yourself giving to aspiring female leaders in the healthcare industry?
That's a difficult question sometimes to answer, because that really depends on the journey. But I would say is one thing that I always tell to everyone is this is a marathon, and I think I mentioned in a few minutes ago, this is a marathon. So really understanding what it is that you want to be achieving. In different parts of life, we might have different objectives. Sometimes we want to be very much focused on our professional career. Sometimes it's going to be on our family. Sometimes it's going to be on community development, on volunteerism. But the one thing is always important is that important to me? Am I passionate about it? There's nothing wrong going to work and getting the paycheck, right? But it makes it easier when you really know that this is what you want to be doing, or finding a way to do what you want to be doing in the future and creating those steps. Two, what I always say is there will be plenty of difficult times and challenges. People are going to challenge you, situations are going to challenge you, but stick with it. If you're really passionate about it, or you know where you're headed, every journey, every lesson, every fall, every fail, or what is perceived fail, because this is a perceived fail, is a way of us getting to the journey. So don't get discouraged, because I think in today's world of instantaneous gratification, we sometimes forget that sometimes not getting what we want immediately is the best thing that can happen to us, because this allows us to really think through, is it really what we want? And B, how do we get there if it truly is? So truly committed. And then finally, the last lesson that the last advice that I always say to everyone, goals will be different, but are you really committed to those goals? I mean, again, find what you want to do in life, know that the journey is very long, and just focus on the time. And also know one thing, there's never a perfect time for anything, right? I mean, things will come, we have to pivot, be okay with changing where you're headed. Sometimes opening up doors that we never thought about it might be the best thing that ever happened to you. And I think being open to those opportunities and knowing that every experience can enrich you, every person that you meet can enrich you and give you a different pathway. I think that's what is very important as part of mentoring. Never discount anyone, open those doors, know that perseverance is your best friend, and this is a long journey. So be committed to whatever you are doing.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. Coach Janine, you have a question?
Yes, Dr. Ewa, can you describe a challenging decision where you had to make in your career and the lesson you have learned from it?
That's but there are always many difficult decisions. Right? A business has two aspects, right? One is running successful business. The other one is also making sure that your team's feeling successful, empowered, and they grow at the same time. Sometimes you need to make decisions that will be skewed towards one way or the other. So these are difficult. But I think if I see when I'm a leader right now versus when I started, I think is realizing that the business is only dependent because it's dependent on the individuals. So nurturing those individuals, bringing them along with you, being empathetic. We all know we all have challenges in our lives. I think that's what makes it very, very important, and trying to understand our employees and where we are. Business decisions or business cannot be successful without leaders who are compassionate, without leaders who know where they are headed, but also those who really cherish and empower and care for their teams underneath. Every decision, whatever decisions we make, let's be honest, it impacts our employees, it impacts our colleagues, it impacts our leaders. So how are we making those decisions? That's what the hardest part is, figuring out what is the right balance. And sometimes knowing that today I need to make the hard decision, maybe it's not what I would want to do it, but I have to do it and be okay with it, but exercise it and know that you've done everything that is needed. So it's not that I don't want to say that it was one harder than the other, because I think in your life, in your career, the challenges change and the level of comfort change. So you're learning from all of them, and comfort in a way that you have the experience, so you know how to react to it, you know how to find the pathway forward. And I think that's the most important part as a leader. Think about it, learn from your mistakes, but also look at how others are in front of you behaving, and take the lessons that you want from what they are doing to make sure that you are doing the way that is the best for you in your leadership style. And the one thing I want to mention, there is no best way of being a leader. Many leaders are not even in the position of leadership, right? They are your colleagues who step up and are the ones who bring everyone together. Anyone can be a leader. Anyone can make the difficult decision that I'm going to step up today, raise my hand and say, I will help you. Or anyone can be the one in the meeting to gather everyone together. You don't have to have an executive title. You don't have to be a director, VP, or a team lead. You can be the leader on your team and really create the environment where everyone can be successful and ultimately drive towards the common goal.
Okay. Receiving the President's Lifetime Achievement Award is a significant honor. Can you tell us what about a pivotal moment or project in your career that believe contribute to this recognition?
Thank you. First of all, I want to say that receiving the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award is still a very humbling and quite an experience, and I wouldn't be on the show without it, right? So it gave me a platform and opportunities to share my experiences and talk to hopefully young women listening and young men listening, and taking even one word out of this presentation, the previous one we done with Tina, and get inspired to get involved in their communities. It does also carry quite a load on you, because now you are held up to a different standard, or at least you feel like people are looking up to you. So you want to also present yourself and give the award and the platform the best recognition you can. I don't know that there was necessarily one area, but I can see that I think leveraging my healthcare analytics experience, not only in my business, but and talking about women advancements, but I think getting involved in the local community. I talk a lot about being involved in rural Maine with the issues of healthcare access, especially for cancer. So that has become really my platform, where I also can combine women leadership, STEM, analytics, healthcare, but also impacting individuals, talking about it, what we need to do in a local community to allow for improvement of diagnostics, providing the right care for treatment, but also creating the awareness in the local community related to what cancer is. But we all think we know, most people do not, right? So what are some of the symptoms? How do you take care of yourself, but also bring the funds to the rural areas that they require in order to be able to provide the support they are requiring. And I think all of these combined, I think, created for me the platform where I could get to that highest honor possible and be recognized by President Biden. And I am more than honored and humbled by it. And I hope I can live up to the rest of the journey in continuing advancing women, advancing the innovation for healthcare, providing the data that we require for treatments, but also more importantly, driving it at the local level so we can really impact directly the patients and the family members, the caregivers who need the information to improve their quality of life and ultimately get the right treatments.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Another question that we have for you, Dr. Ewa, is as you know, in a healthcare, everything is just changing rapidly. So how do you stay ahead of the curve in terms of emerging technology trends, and how can others also in the industry do the same?
It's a lot of reading, it's a lot of learning, it's going to conferences. You have to, right? You have to be surrounding yourself with a lot of knowledge. And it's always interesting when college students come out from college graduate, they think that the learning is done. Well, the news for them is the learning is even more expedited, right? You have to do more, because now you are competing with the best in your area. And we all know that there is many of us who are in the same field, but also realizing that not necessarily competition, but those relationships you are getting, they're also enhancing your knowledge. You're having difficult discussions. You are sharing your information. You are on the platform for at the conferences discussing different topics. For me, it's clearly the healthcare analytics and women in healthcare analytics, but talking about it. Am I always the best? No, I read a lot. I do. I wake up every morning, try to wake up around 5:30, grab my coffee and read. Go onto internet and see what is the newest post that people provided. What are the different new challenges coming in? I mean, we all know that AI right now, it's becoming a big thing. How do you apply that to healthcare? How do you apply to social care? How do you apply that to all of the challenges that we are facing in our local communities? And I think that's very important, because we have to think about it. How do you bring the right groups and individuals together? But I think it's really that never stopping to develop yourself, because when there's a hunger for development and learning, you realize that you are not as smart as you think. There's so many smarter people in the room often, but then take it and learn it from them, listen to their opinion, read up, take a couple courses, and continuously educate yourself. Because if you want to stay on top, you have to be the brightest in the room sometimes, right? You have to at least know, maybe not always have something to say, but take the information, digest it, and come up with a solution that might help either move an initiative or move someone else to the idea of what to do next. The last thing that I want to mention is we've seen in the last few years, especially, innovation in healthcare proceeded very, very rapidly, very rapidly. And I don't think it's going to slow down. I think now with all of the AI and ChatGPT type of algorithms out there, it's going to only speed up, and we all going to have a better access to care, but also drug developments are going to increase, and the way we are testing them is going to change. So I think it's also knowing that now more than ever, we have to continue educating ourselves, but also realize that with movement in technology, ethical components have to be also taken into consideration. So while we are learning all of these technologies, think about it of application, what it means to healthcare, what it means to patient care, caregivers providing that care, and so forth, because I think ethical considerations need to start coming in more than ever into consideration with the rapid movement of innovation and technology.
Okay. It's clear that you have achieved some remarkable success. And so in your career, can you share a funny, unexpected anecdote that from your journey that people might find surprising or learn about you?
Sure. Well, I usually get that that I'm too young to be in the position I'm in. So very often I have to introduce myself as Dr. Ewa Kleczyk, because if I introduce myself without the title, I get, people think, oh, this is just another lady in the room, right? So it's a very interesting thing that perceptions are also everywhere where we are, but it's often. For me, is the comments that I get is, oh wow, you have a PhD, you are an executive, and it's often is that I just don't look the position I am in, and it's an interesting comment, right? How do you overcome it? It's not like you can age yourself a little bit more. Maybe we can, but it's also then it makes me think about it, how I carry myself and how I present myself. Not that I need to look older, but it's more about the presence in the room and how confident I need to come in order to be able to carry the message that I need to carry. So that's to me, it's always an interesting thing, and I found the ways to ensure that others understand that I have quite a few years under my belt, and I have a higher degree as well. But to any young women that might be hearing, that might be something that if you're in a room where you might be the minority, whether it's by gender, by race, or any other way, think about it that you might be the one in the room, which I often am, meaning that I'm one of the women or only woman in the room. And I think that's for us to also figure out, how do we change that perception, and how do we present ourselves and learn the ways for us to establish the confidence and the expertise that we require, so others can take us seriously. So again, for any young women who are thinking that maybe they don't want to be in the room, please do, because we need that. For me, it's always funny when people say, oh, you're so young, or you're too young to have a position you are in. So that's part of my story.
Yeah, thank you. Coach Janine.
So another question is, mentorship, it's really two-way street. So what have you personally, gained from your experience as a mentor, and how has impacted your own growth and leadership style?
Great question. So I think Tina asked me, we were briefly talking about it, what I learned from my mentees earlier, but it's as I'm going further up and more in my leadership journey, and I hope I have many more years ahead of me to empower others and bring them along with me. I think it's all about giving an opportunity to someone, right? We have to always leave the ladder behind. There is no way that we can advance anymore any higher if we don't create a cohort of individuals who can replace us. And I know that when we say the word replace, people right away think job security and so forth. I think I want to think about it as, in order for me to take the next level step in my career, I need someone to come in and do my job. And I think that's a big pride. And I think over time that changed for me. If you talk to me a couple of years back, I would probably not been able to think about it yet. But the older you become, the more you advance in your career, you know that there is someone needs to fill in your shoes, and you, in order to advance, it's your responsibility to find those individuals, regardless of gender or any other circumstances, and bring them in along with you, leave the ladder behind and have them climb behind you. And be happy if someone starts comparing them to you, saying, oh, this is like so-and-so, because I think that's the biggest compliment that you can receive it. And then you know that your part as a mentor has really paid off. The other thing for me is we talked a little bit about being empathetic. I think the more in the journey you are, the older you become, your empathy changes, and you are seeing individuals' journey underneath those on your group and who are your peers very differently than when you're starting up. And I think that's a part of the leadership, becoming a adult leader in that case, and I call it loosely, but it's a part of the journey that you start realizing how empathy is playing in. And I think especially after pandemic, there's a lot of talk about empathetic leadership and many books and seminars given. But I think it is important because pandemic presented to us that everyone's situation is different. We all have lives outside of the work, and we have to think about it, what it means when we are making certain decisions, and how potentially certain flexibility or lack of it, how it can impact our brightest in our community, as well as at our place of work, and what it means for their opportunities to advance as well. Everyone's journeys is different, everyone's circumstance is different, and I think it is important to think about it often. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Dr. Eva, so as a healthcare leader, you've likely encountered many opportunities for improvement in the industry. What is one issue or challenge you particularly passionate about addressing?
Great question. I think there are a few. One is the access to care. I think we all know that they are inequalities in it. And I think we as a nation and the local communities should do as much, or need to do, not even should, need to do as much as we can to ensure that the care, access to care is provided across, whether you are in a rural community or you are in a suburban or you are in the city. We all should be able to get the access that is needed. There is a little bit of hope with telemedicine. I think pandemic moved the technology forward so much more, allowing individuals who are so far away from the centers of care, where they can now call in and get the basic care immediately. It doesn't solve still the issue that many people in rural areas might be a couple hundred miles away from the nearest hospital, right, or the nearest specialist, making it that much more difficult to get the timely care. So I think that's one, and this is why I'm involved with my husband in the rural main patient care system there, to talk about it, some of these, and really help provide the cancer care that we can provide. So that's one. The second thing, which I'm very excited about, and we are all hearing and more about it, is precision medicine. I think if you ask 5 years ago how individuals were getting care, it was always the same drugs being given to everyone. There was never a consideration for the specifics of our DNA, of our sequencing that we have. Now, more and more individuals are tested. The genomics data is being leveraged in order to identify the different biomarkers that we all have, whether it's in a or the predispositions that we all have, whether it's a cancer care or mental health or any other places and any other areas. It's really important to make sure that we think about giving the right treatment to the individuals based on their genetic predispositions. The same drugs will not work for everyone, right? It's not like you can give the same drug and everyone is going to be cured. There will be instances where it won't work, and we need to understand those. So I think part of that is also increasing the representation of minorities, and also regional representation when it comes to clinical trials, because very often it's a very small percentage of diversity that we are seeing. And I think now with the recent developments, we are seeing more and more component of diversity coming in and making sure that we have the representation of race, we have the representation of geography, income levels, educational levels, because I think that all plays into ultimately how we all, what is the health and wealth of our nation. And also we are the most important parts of this country, right? We have to be investing in ourselves to make sure that we all together go up as one. So again, I think is the precision medicine looking at how we're going to be treating in the future, along with the ability to provide better access and equal access to care for everyone, regardless of their circumstances, where they live, their race, their gender, income levels, and so forth. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. You wanna go?
Awesome. Yeah, just a last question for us, like, how do you define a servant leader, and do you also call yourself a servant leader or not?
That's a great question. I always look at myself. I don't know that I want to even call myself a leader, right? But it's the way we are all defining what do we want to do. I know what I am good, what I am passionate about and what I want to see it. I want to see more women in analytics, in technology, whether it's in healthcare or not. I think this is a larger place, but I'm very passionate about healthcare as well as about education. These are some of the places where I really spend my time and think about how I can help to move it. So I less worry about the labels. I more think about it. How do I present myself, and what else can I do? And I don't like thinking about it. What am I gonna get at the end? Clearly, many of us are very driven, so we always think about the end goals. But I think it's also the legacy that you want to leave. And I more think about the leader as what I would like someone else to be able to tell about me when I pass, when I won't be here in this world. What have I done it? Is there gonna be a good word to be talking about me, or am I gonna be just the person that was there and maybe published a few papers and then did a few YouTube shows, right? So that's I think that's where I look a little. I changed the topic a little bit because I wanna also make sure that when we are calling certain labels or talk about certain titles, sometimes I don't want that to sound that this is for only a few. I want to always make sure that we are all independent thinkers. We are all driving where we want to be going, and ultimately pursuing what we are very ambitious and very passionate about. Because we need passion, we need care in this world, and we need really individuals who want to move forward with whatever their objectives are and whatever their I guess goals for their life and for their legacy is. Thank you.
Okay. Can you have any final words you would like to add, Dr. Ewa?
I just would like to thank everyone. Thank you again, Tina and Janine, Coach Janine, for having me here. It was so nice to be back and talk a little bit more. Hopefully, for those who have listened or will be listening in the future, that I inspired you for thinking about what you want to do and how you want to represent yourself and where you want to go in the long journey that we all have ahead of us. And again, just remembering, it's all about doing the right thing for yourself. The journey is very long, and just making sure that you enjoy the ride, and you do what you really like doing, and you are passionate about. There's so many topics that anyone can take on and try to conquer in this world, that there's plenty of room for all of us to feel the success in whatever shape and form we are defining it. So first of all, again, thank you to you, and thank you for the listeners to joining us this morning.
Thank you. Coach Janine, you have any final words?
No, absolutely. If you can also just, share your information with our viewers, your social links and everything, so people can be able to reach out to you more. And of course, we will have you back again, because there's more questions that we love to, especially in the, I'm very interested to, understanding more the work that you do in the community and how, we can all, having a part 2 of this because there's a lot of questions that I personally would like to see if, more women and more people of color, and specifically, you know, people who I haven't really have the opportunity to go beyond it, because they keep serving, but sometimes, you know, they really came across, you know, the glass ceiling, and I'd like to see with your experience, you know, so that could be another series of show that we can invite you back so we can ask you more about that. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, it will be my pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Eva and Coach Janine for coming on. You always give us a wealth of information, Dr. Eva. You have any upcoming events or anything coming up that you want to share?
Just a couple presentations for a women conference, and one of the places that I'm going to be headed later this coming week is going to be to New York City for Women in Technology Gala. So I look forward to meeting all of the women across the industries in the United States who are going to be celebrated. I am very proud to be one of the nominees for an award in that gala as well. But I look forward more than anything talk to the many successful women that are in technology and spearheading so many different innovations across the many different industries that they're working in. So I just would like to mention, for anyone who's in New York City, if you are interested to hear a little bit more, stop by and celebrate the women in STEM. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate y'all both coming on, and like Coach Janine said again, we'll have you on again. I'm thinking something where we can have an extra teaching session because on healthcare. So we'll probably get in touch and see what we can do together, partnership on something. Well, thank you for coming on. Thank you, Coach Janine, and y'all have a good morning.
It's true. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.